So the first thing I'm going to do here is a lighting test. See if this works and how well. Hey, look at that. All LEDs are firing and that looks nice. Unplug it. Oh, nice. That's still fading down. You might not see it now, and gone. What a nice fade out. That's going to be fun to look at once that's actually installed in the model. I'll have to consider doing something like that for some of the rest of it, so it looks like gradual power down. Wow. I'll have to check how many jillion resistors I put on the back of this thing. So let me untwist this and plug it into the hull. Make sure all this is still working. And then later on, there are some LEDs in here. Once it gets closer to building it, we'll plug those in together and see how it works. There we go. Everything's firing that should be firing. I didn't really think it would be. And the way I've designed this is that it's going to be really easy to replace anything that needs replacing anytime down the road. So with that powered up, let's go for a test fit. Make sure everything's out of the way. That's the one problem with having these wires here, is that this has to be flat on the surface. And I also broke off one of the tabs at some point over here, this one. So that is essentially sitting flat, but it's going to be loose. So once that's, I might be able to repair this tab. I'll give that a try a little later. Then remembering where everything goes, that's definitely a big step. So it's beginning to look like, well, let me take a look at the surface here first before we get too far. So I've just gone to get two important tools for this stage. A pen and paper. I'm going to start making a checklist, because I was about to put all the walls on, but looking at the floor surface, apart from some damage over time, I'm seeing that some of the paint areas are really nice and smooth, and some areas are just really granular from the way the paint went down. There's different layers of it. So what I'm going to do is take a sanding block and do the entire surface over, and then prime it in a gray or a white. So now let's actually put some of this stuff down, if I remember where much of it goes. This is why I want to save the landing gear for last, because I'm definitely putting some pressure on this here. There may in fact be a better way, but the paint's just a little too tight. That's good enough for the moment though. I don't want to force it too much just for this test fit. We'll save that for the final day. Alright, so let's see what we can do here. So this is all taped off. I don't want to... This could have been bad that this tape stayed on so long. We'll see how that goes. Well, I may as well put fresh paint on anyway. Just taking the bottom off isn't too bad. So it looks like I've got a few pieces here prepped for painting. That's definitely going to be a major step in the immediate future, it looks like. So this is obviously going to be a tricky piece to get into place, so we'll just leave this standing here and recognize the fact that it does go there. This one isn't difficult at all. And as long as all the wall panels count out. Yeah, so just right now, so far, I would say that the floor is the most critical component going forward. Everything attaches to that, so that needs to be finished first, no matter what. From there are other pre-taped items, so those will be number 2 on the list. Finish pre-taped pieces. I think some of them are 3 colors. There's at least 1 down. Overall, there doesn't appear to be any damage to the walls at all, or at least the painted ones, so I'm happy about that. There's no major damage from being stored so long. The pieces are definitely dusty. That's definitely the biggest thing that I should have protected for. Getting one of those 2-gallon Ziploc bags or anything to put the floor in alone. Like I said, the underside of the saucer didn't really matter much because no one, that's just basically the substructure. But bagging all the individual pieces, especially the painted pieces, which I'm hoping are finished, would have been better. There's slight little chips, but we'll see how that goes. So once the floor is sanded, it's painted, pieces can start being attached, and probably I would be starting with this wall here, simply because it's got the toughest amount of fiber optics to go to it. I have to devise the fiber optics for this, so that will probably be closer to last. Last time I was working on this model, I was drilling tons of holes, which were mostly for these upper frames here, and these control panels, now that I think of it, or the front control panels that go on top here. That was the big one. So each one of those is going to need its own fiber optics, and what I'm thinking about doing is getting back into CMOS for this. Regular blinking, flashing RGB just isn't good enough. What I want is to replicate what's going on in the show. I have a bunch of 4060 timer chips. I'm going to go get some breadboards fairly soon, and we're going to have some electronic sessions on working with CMOS because the stuff is just freaking amazing. We'll be able to do individual banks of lights that come on for a while, go off for a while. Other ones will come on for shorter periods. They'll all have different timing ranges, so it will be close to the feel of what was going on the show. And that's basically all of these lights here, which are going to be white or blue, and all of these lights that go up here, which are going to be yellow or amber, probably yellow. Amber's a bit too dark and rustic. There's a couple of them over here too, if I recall. There's a couple different blue blinking ones. I think it's these 3 here. Those are going to have different timings. So in order for me to do this to the way I want, I'm definitely going to have to dig into the CMOS chips. One other thing I'm remembering right now is that this freezer tube hole cuts into the top side of one of the landing gear bays. So I think I just might shave that away and put a brass tube in like everything else. I can always hide that on the inside of the landing bay because there will be a hole going through there essentially for a little bit, but that can be dressed up. So it looks like the legs are going to be one of the last things I do, simply because the bottom of this floor has tubes and all sorts of wiring on it, and you can't just put it down anywhere. So having it locked down to the hull is going to be really useful at times. And having the landing gear attached is definitely going to be a last factor, I think. All the little fiddly bits here, some of them definitely need some repainting. I think even from the last time that I shot a video, I had noted that there was some paint chipping on some of the wall pieces from tape off I was doing. These need to be two-toned. So it looks like I initially painted the outer wall, I masked the inner wall. No, I masked the inner wall, painted the outer wall, and then peeled that back, and it's just no good. This right here was the really bad one. Don't know what did that or why. I was pretty sure I primed and prepped the surfaces all pretty well. I certainly washed them well enough in the beginning of the series. So I don't really know what did that. We got some doors to deal with and other flat pieces. I'm not too worried about these at this point. I think all of this stuff will simply come together as it needs to. The main target here for immediate work is definitely the floor. From there, probably the freezer tubes. So even looking through this box here, anything in here really requires the floor to be done. From the floor, the walls go up, the fiber optics can be threaded, all the little furniture can go around where it needs to, the freezer tubes, the pilot chairs, anything in the back rooms. So I think that's the way to go for the immediate future. Then all the very delicate stuff, like this guy, this is going to be one of the very last things I ever do on this. So we have a target, we know where we're going, we got a strategy, and then I think once we actually get this rolling here with the sanding, the priming, the painting, this is really going to start to come together fast. So that's it for this installment right now. Thanks for watching. See ya.